Welcome to it, sports fans. I am MKT, the MKT show. Gareth Cliff. It is Wednesday. Can't believe it's the end of September already, huh? Unbelievable. We're nearly in the 10th month of the year that is COVID 2020. Unbelievable. We've made it. Never thought, when I was 15, I never thought I'd be saying, I survived a really bad breakup and a pandemic. Like, oh my God, who thinks that, huh? Since the Spanish flu, been a while. But we've survived the pandemic. And today, by the way, big show for me, very, very emotional. A lot of people say I'm emotionally repressed, but it's our last show with Dave, our producer extraordinaire. He's the man who has actually put the show together and made it look half decent. He is off. I don't know. I think he's going to start a ballet career or whatever, but he's going to kill it. So big shout out to Dave LaRue, by the way, Giraffe. Just awesome. One of the best people I've ever met and worked with. So just wanted to start out with a shout out for Dave, the guy, David Leroux. Really, really great guy. Dave, you're amazing, and it's been awesome. But it's not the end. Dave will be back at some stage, I'm sure. But he's got some cool stuff out there. We'll get some of his films. Dave, we got to get that adventure you took. I think, was it to Russia or I can't remember. Crazy motorbiking adventure guy, Dave. He adventures around the world. We'll get some of his film on here. Gone but never forgotten, as they say. Much like Chelsea Football Club in the Carabao Cup. That's what we're going to start with. But yeah, shout out to Dave. Been absolutely awesome. Built the show. Made it possible for us to be with you. But the show must go on, and it will. So Dave, thank you very much. But we will go on, and of course, we will always have Dave in the family. All right, now that's done, and I've poured my heart out, and it's gotten soppy and emotional. You'll have to forgive me. That is as emotional as I'll get. People say I'm emotionally repressed. How am I single? I'm so open and warm, I think. That was quite warm of me. Anyway, the depression of last night. If you're a Chelsea fan, unbelievable. Guest tonight, by the way, it's insane. Top 50 in the world. Imagine being the 36th best person at anything in the world. Oh, my God, unbelievable. Alex Fuller, right? The number one in Africa, or number one in South Africa in terms of squash. Ladies, just beast. Absolute beast. We've got Alex Fuller on tonight. She just dominates the local scene and is number 36 globally. Cannot wait to chat to her. Of course, SA Champs coming up in 2 weeks, or SA Nationals. That's going to be good fun. So we'll chat to Alex in a little bit. But first of all, let's start off with this. Look, last night, I think we saw two tales. Those who watched Chelsea, of course, collapsing. Mount misses his chance. And that was just no good. No good. Mount misses that chance. He puts it away. It's 2-0. Game's over. Chelsea maybe go 3 up. Werner misses his chance. Really, the finishing. Once again, same old Chelsea, same old result. But here's what people are saying. Of course, Mount misses the penalty at the end. And 5-4, Tottenham do their thing. Mourinho, masterclass again. He suffocates a game and manages to get it to, a shootout. And whenever you have Mourinho, and whenever it's close, Mourinho generally wins. It's the experience. But there was such an interesting sort of outpouring from the Chelsea side of things. And I saw this tweet yesterday of people suggesting Lampard needs time. Dave, before we put up the next tweet, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a little story that happened in my real life. Friend of mine a couple of years ago, I mean, we're still friends now. He wasn't a friend of mine a couple of years ago. We've been friends for over 20 years. But a couple of years ago, he came to me and he said, my girlfriend wants to break up with me. Now, we know how things go when this happens. And this is a real story, by the way. I'm not just making it up. And we know as soon as people point out our situations, especially those closest to us, when they tell us where they feel they're being mistreated or whatever, we take it personally, right? The closer the people, the more it hurts when they say. And I said, why? Why does she want to break up with you? Things seem so good from the outside. And he said, well, I've gained a little bit of weight. And she says, this wasn't the deal. Part of the deal was when they met, and he was an athlete, a stud athlete back in the day, but he packed on a couple of pounds. And she said to him, this is non-negotiable. right, is we have a standard. If I'm with you, you're going to look a certain way. Like, fair enough. And hey, listen, nobody was more on her side, but he's my guy. And I said, okay, what's the story? And he proceeds to tell me this. And what I said to him is, I'm on her side. Because when she came to you, there was a standard. But she's not saying, I'm leaving you now. She's saying, oh, no, there's a non-negotiable standard that we play to, right? Otherwise, then you've got to go. So it's not, I'm dumping you now and you're a terrible human. It's, okay, well, the standard is 10 out of 10. And that's what we want to be always aiming to. What's going to happen there? You going out for booze all the time. And I told the guy, hey, stop being a booze bag. Get off the booze. You'll lose the weight in no time. You're a state athlete. What happened? He chose the booze. He chose the lifestyle. And the stomach got even bigger. And what happened? She left him. My point is, folks, when people come in with a standard, if you value somebody, and what I loved about my friend's girlfriend at the time was that what she was saying was, hey, I really value you. I have standards for you. You know what you do when you have values and standards for somebody, right? Is you call them out. If you work somewhere and your boss has stopped calling you out, your boss stops piling work onto your plate, you should be worried. When people value you, when they have expectations of you, they are harder than you on you than anybody else. Dave, give me that next tweet. So I want to tell you, this is what Dan Levine said. All right. He says, Frank Lampard is the greatest legend our club can call upon, our greatest ever player, our greatest goal scorer. He won't become our greatest manager overnight. It'll take time. But those of us who understand what this club stands for will back him all the way. Now, in my story, the girlfriend was backing my friend. She was saying, I know what you're capable of, and there are non-negotiables. If you back somebody, there are non-negotiables. And I mean, if you really back somebody, because if you don't, and you allow somebody to get fat and lazy and start to represent a slobbish, listen, if you don't have standards for somebody, you don't value them. And then you're never going to keep them accountable, right? And then you have no standards, and then it's a mess. Just because Chelsea fans, like me, like many, are saying Frank Lampard, right, is showing some deficiencies, it doesn't mean we don't back him. If we didn't say anything, I'd have a problem. We'd be saying, okay, well, it's okay. What we have to say as Chelsea fans is Frank, you have this season and you have next season. Do not worry about getting fired. But it is not acceptable to lose. It is not acceptable to lose. Just like you do with a child, right? What do parents do with children is you want your child to be an A student. When they come back with a C report, you're disappointed. You don't kick them out the house. You explain to them, but here's the standards. If you don't care about your kid, some parents don't care about their kids. Don't even look at their report. That's okay. But there's two different ways to do things. If you care, you critique, right? It's got to be constructive. It's got to have, we're not here to abuse people. But with Lampard, I'm afraid, listen, the standard of Chelsea is we got to win. Since Abramovich came in, 2004 is a long time ago, folks. The standard is win, right? When you lose, Alex Ferguson said the greatest thing ever. He said, losing is not acceptable at Manchester United while I'm here. Not, oh, well, we lost, it's unlucky. It is unacceptable. And if we want to hold Lampard to the standards of Chelsea, because remember, it's Chelsea FC, not Lampard FC. Chelsea standards first, and then Lampard will imbibe what you're doing. And if his standards are, I'm going to constantly make excuses, I'm sorry. Give me solutions or give me excuses. One of those gets you fired. The thing with Frank Lampard is, Frank, you have this season, you have next season. If you don't win the title at the end of next season, we have an awkward conversation to have with the club legend. Frank Lampard will be a legend until the day he dies. But like my friend who chose the booze and the lifestyle and pizzas, right? When his girlfriend was clear she was negotiating, or she didn't negotiate, she said, here are the non-negotiable standards. Folks, once again, I use this same story because it's the only way I know how to make it international. It's not Montessori. It's not everyone must come and express themselves. When there are standards, they must be non-negotiable. Excellence is non-negotiable. And if Lampard is allowed now, and I've used this example before, when you have a dog, when do you train it to pee outside? when it's a puppy. Because if you allow that behavior when it's a puppy, trust me, when it's 3 or 4, it's what they call in the streets of London a mazzoline. It's a mess. There's no way. So if Lampard is allowed to get away with it now, to say, oh, well, you're Frank Lampard, oh, well, you're still betting players in, no. And I'm afraid, Frank Lampard, if you don't win the title by the end of next season, well, plenty of managers out there. Just because you're a legend back in the day. What have you done for me lately? That's the world we're in, folks. Sport is not about compassion. Sport is not about how do we feel about you. It's about results. It's the beauty of it. You can go work at a bank, go work somewhere else if you want to be in sheltered employment. Chelsea's at the apex, Man City at the apex of the English Premier League. Liverpool are on their way, but you'd have to say over the last 12 years, it's Chelsea, Man City. It's nobody else. Man United are out of it. They had their time, but right now it's Chelsea, Man City. That's where it's at. So what I feel, it's who's won the most titles recently. Liverpool's 1 in 30, so don't get involved in the conversation. Chelsea, it's non-negotiable. Abramovich has won his whole life from an orphanage to being one of the richest men in the world. We'll give you time, but remember, it's about the process. And in the process of winning, losing is not negotiable. So for people to say you don't understand if you critique, you're absolutely nuts. And I continue to tell my friend to this day, by the way, she was right to dump you. He's in great shape now, but she was right to dump you. Standards, non-negotiable. Chelsea Football Club do not put up with Frank Lampard and the performance last night. And it's a pattern now. It's a pattern now. It's not okay to lose, right? In the process, you have to be critical in the process. Let's not get caught up in the outcomes. I'm not saying Chelsea must win the Premier League this season. That's crazy talk. But in the process you have to put things in place in the system, in the process, to ensure that next season there's absolutely no excuses. And also we do it with children. We know it'll take time, but you're critical from the beginning. You set the standards, right? And the great saying is what? We don't change our standards. If things go wrong, you don't change your standards. You change the methods. The standard always stays the same. Just because it's Lampard, what are we going to do now? 4th is good enough. That gets you nowhere. That gets you nowhere. That gets you Nokia. That gets you BlackBerry. We've seen these examples, folks. Elon Musk, the biggest critique of him, the guy's staff turnover is too high. The standard. We don't want to be Toyota. We want to be Toyota 3.0, not 2.0. We want to drill into Los Angeles. We want to go to Mars. Elon Musk, we're going to the space station for a 10th of the price that the whole of the US, NASA, can send astronauts to the space station for. A 10th of the price. Excellence, always. That took Elon Musk 10 years. Non-negotiable. Standards are non-negotiable from the beginning. And what Lampard needs to get, listen, a rebuild is fine, but the standards are set now. And when you lose, it's a disaster. We must be clear about that. It's not to say you're going anywhere. You don't kick your children out if they expected to get an A and they get a C+. You make it very clear to them that what's the plan? Do you need tutoring? Does Lampard need help? He can't defend. The tactics are poor. Does he need another coach? Is he humble enough to accept that? Because in life, folks, and this is what successful people do, there's always two ways. They give you rope, right? They'll give you all the rope in the world. Roman Abramovich has dished out £247 million this year. We give you the rope to do one of two things. The rope is to hang yourself or to pull yourself up. That's it. There's nothing in between. There is nothing in between, because the in between is your arms get tired and you fall anyway. The rope is to pull yourself up or to hang yourself. Now, Lampard has a choice. You humble yourself. Tactically, he needs some help. It's clear. It's clear. Clear as daylight. Wherever you are, wherever you work, the day your boss stops being hard on you, the day your boss stops giving you work and stops being critical, you're dead. Trust me. I've worked at enough jobs with enough people. I've seen enough people that thought they were great, and then people give up on them. I see the patterns. I've been in sports teams. If you're in a sports team and your coach stops screaming at you, I know it's a different time and it's consciousness and blah, blah, blah. When you're at the top, at the sharp end, if your coach stops being hard on you, trust me, you're in trouble. If you're in a team sport, trust me, you're about to get dropped or you're done in that team. Ask the best. Don't ask any of the best in the world who get coached by anybody. If the coach stops being hard on you, if your teammates stop being hard on you, if your teammates stop expecting from you, you're dead. People stop expecting from Lampard now. He's dead. He's gone by December. Because Abramovich doesn't play. Abramovich fired Jose Mourinho twice after winning the title for him 3 times. Twice. He fired. Let me tell you, Roman Abramovich. Here's the guy you're dealing with. Roman Abramovich fired Carlo Ancelotti a season after he won the league and FA Cup double. He didn't even wait for Carlo Ancelotti to get back into the bus. He used Wigan's boardroom to fire him away on the last day of the season for coming second in the league after having won the league and cup double the season before. Standards. It's different at the top. And Lampard needs to learn. Nobody cares what you did as a player, Frank. It's great. You'll always be a club legend as a footballer. What have you done for me lately? You're a manager now. And please, any fan in the world, I don't want to comment on any other club. I'm a Chelsea fan. Any fan in the world who stops expecting to win, that's what happened at Arsenal. I'm sorry to say it. I didn't want to say it. That's what happened at Arsenal. I've always said this. The day Arsene Wenger said, 4th is a trophy, Arsenal were dead. And those consequences will be felt for another 10 years. And I think we saw the gap between Liverpool and Arsenal on Monday. It's clear. Yeah, that's one club where Jurgen Klopp says, no, losing is no. It's unacceptable. Not, oh, well, we played well. It is unacceptable to lose. And Frank Lampard, it's a little loose at the moment. It feels a bit laddish. Doesn't it feel like he's got his lads around him? Jody Morris, it's very loose. Jody Morris is always out on social media. Let's get some control. Otherwise, I've just told you what kind of guy Roman Abramovich is. Hey, Dave, before we go on, do we have any questions? Ryan Fuller says, Chelsea are missing a proper leader on the field. Ryan, I think that's a great point. And I think that's what he's tried to do with bringing in sort of Silva in there. I think Azpilicueta probably, I think we saw in the second half of West Brom, probably has to start at left back for the very reason you've just said. It's a whole lot of, tippy-tappy players. And Ryan, I think that's a marvelous point. I think Thiago Silva's meant to address that. And to be honest, I think it's difficult for Lampard because he's trying to imagine his team and imposing it on sort of Mount and people like that. And it's tough. It's tough. My only thing is, let's not be based on outcomes this season. If you're a Chelsea fan, the outcomes are less important. Obviously, top 4 is negotiable. What's not negotiable is it's a disaster when you lose. So the reprimand of losing must be, this is unacceptable. It's not to say Frank's going anywhere. Frank must know that he has 2 years, no problem. But it's unacceptable to lose, because then by next year, when the kids are blooded, maybe he gets 1 or 2 more in with those leadership qualities I think Ryan is quite correctly bringing up. Then we have a different story. And Ryan, I think it's a great point. I think it's a bit tippy-tappy in the midfield there. There's nobody, Ryan, I've always said, if I was to pick a Premier League team of any player, it's not Thierry Henry, it's not Cristiano Ronaldo, it's not Carlos Tevez, it's not Didier Drogba. The first player I would pick is Roy Keane for the very reason that I just said and Ryan's just said. Roy Keane sets the standard. You know what happens, and to Ryan's point, Ryan, I think, probably understands this, is that when you have a Roy Keane, when you have a John Terry, when you have a Didier Drogba, when you have these transcendent Vincent Kompany, Patrick Vieira, when you have transcendent leaders, you know what it allows the manager to do is just coach. When you got Patrick Vieira, I believe why Arsene Wenger was so successful is Patrick Vieira is just the manager on the field. All the players knew when Vincent Kompany stepped on the field what's going on there. So Pellegrini can just coach 4-4-2, whatever's happening. He doesn't have to worry about managing dressing rooms and egos and attitude, because he knows Vincent Kompany cuts people out. Kompany's getting you out of there. Vieira's getting you out of there. Paul Merson. And if you don't believe me, go and read up the story about Paul Merson, one of the most talented footballers, the Maradona really of English football. What happened there? Tony Adams, a little bit of a boozy culture. Paul Merson tried to carry that on. Patrick Vieira's captain now. Get the hell out. Paul Merson. And hey, if there's somebody they love at Arsenal, it's the great Paul Merson and some player. But drinking culture, Patrick Vieira, and I've read the book. Arsene Wenger said not his call. So it's a great point, Ryan Fuller. An absolutely terrific point. But we must hold people to standards. And that's how we develop. That's how Lampard gets where he needs to be. He needs to understand what the standard is. We've had Mourinho. We've had Ancelotti. We've had the best. And we got Roman Abramovich. And Roman Abramovich, I feel, sleeps with his hand on the trigger. Trigger happy would be an understatement. Speaking of the best, I mean, coming up after this, we'll give her an introduction in a bit, but I think, listen, the numbers talk for themselves. Coming up in a bit, the finest on the squash court in South Africa. Welcome back to it, ladies and gentlemen. MKT, Gareth Cliff, the MKT show. My ego is so big, I need to name a show after myself. And I'm okay with that, by the way. I'm okay with having an ego. Damn it. If my insecurities can't come out on Cliff Central, where can they come out? Tell me, huh? MKT show. What an awesome job this is. I can't believe I get to speak to people like the person. By the way, I need to keep telling people this, is like, it's pretty cool because I work with this man over here. So he gets a lot of attention. And naturally, you know, it's being around him, you're going to get a little bit of attention, the crumbs. It's almost like if, you know, I know a friend of mine, she likes that she has one friend who's the looker in the group. And she says she likes going out with her because guys are attracted to her. And then whenever she's around her, there's always guys for her because she's single. So it's that's the kind of attention I get from Gareth. And I get a little bit of the sort of crumbs off there. So it's good for my ego. And then I thought, hey, let me get a show in my own name. You see, I'm wide open. Let people into my life. My insecurities, not try to speak about them. Somebody who does not need to talk about or inflate their ego, their value, because it's a real, people can actually Google it. And they're the real deal, not an Instagram fitness person like me who pretends to know anything about fitness. Dave, let's give her an introduction before we talk to this champion. Ladies and gentlemen, coming out of Rustenburg in Cape Town, she has been on the squash courts since she was a little thing, made in Cape Town, perfected around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, number 36 in the world, number 1 in our hearts. At number 1, Alex Fuller. Alex, let's go. Let's go. What's happening? Oh, no, Dave, do we have her muted? No, Alex, I think it's on our side. We take responsibility for that. David. You know, Alex, it's David's last day. You know, he's just these guys. What a slacker. David, we're going to try and get Alex's sound back. All right, we're going to get Alex back in a bit, folks. She is... listen, Alex has put in the most effort of any guest we've ever had on this show. So she's going to refresh and she'll be back in a second. And we'll talk to her. So just to let you know, I mean, she is... Imagine being at number 36 in the world at anything. I've never been that good at anything. It's absolutely insane. So we will get her back now once we got the sound back. Really, really looking forward to it. And so SA Nationals coming up in I think that's in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's
Hey, I'm back here.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Back.
are you back, Alex? Listen,
Yes.
It's Dave's last day, and he's just
Yeah.
sabotaging the show, just trying to take the show down. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do,
I've
right?
I've heard his name a ton of times. He just wants
Yeah,
all the publicity now.
that's what it is. Like, it's
Behind the
not enough.
scenes.
That's the
Exactly.
problem with these guys, is
I
everybody
know.
wants. It's unbelievable. But anyway, what you gonna do? I mean, I'm sure you have people in the background team. I don't know if are you married or you know.
No.
Okay,
Not married.
not yet, not yet, not yet.
Not
But
yet. Not
trust
yet.
me, when you get married, you're gonna have that Instagram husband who probably or wife. Sorry, it's
Tag me.
2020.
Tag me.
Yeah. Tag me, and all of a sudden now they want to hold your hand in public at the beach. We know where it's gonna go. Alex, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing well, doing as well as I can. To have the director
Good
trying to
stuff.
sabotage the show, but other than that, great.
Uh,
Alex, thanks very much for joining us, man.
funny.
Hey, tell us about your day. Where you been? What you been doing today? You know?
So I had a pretty cool day actually. I was up early in the gym. I work at a gym in Greenpoint called Oxygen Functional Fitness. I took a class there at 7 a.m. Then I had a coffee with a couple of the girls, trained myself, had another client, met another friend for coffee, went to sweat class, had some lunch, played squash this afternoon, and now I'm here.
Okay. So wow,
Pretty, yeah.
that's a full day, huh?
It's a full day. It's fun.
So functional. So what? Oxygen functional gym, huh?
Yeah.
So what's
Yeah, that's right.
functional gymming? I want to tell me about. So because hey, we live in South Africa. The boykies like to get the big pecs. Is that are these
Yeah.
the types of people you train or?
No, not at all. So the gym's got like no machines. There's only 2 machines that they got there. And it's just all functional style training, like loose dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, there's squat racks, there's ropes to climb, there's just like a lot of floor space and a lot of areas to work with. And we do a lot of like, functional kind of movements and that kind of thing. So that's why it's called Oxygen Functional Fitness, because it's just, based on that kind of training. It's not like walking into a Virgin Active and you get like bombarded by 1,000 machines. You don't know which one to choose.
And then there's all these gorillas everywhere, right? It's always like
exactly, yeah.
Gorillas screaming, trying to curl with bad form and things like that.
Exactly.
Okay,
personal trainer's worst nightmare to see.
I can imagine. Hey, Alex. So listen, let's start here. So you're from Cape Town, huh? Born in Cape Town, raised in Cape Town. You're living in Cape Town. You drink Cape Town. I mean, you drink coffees all the time. Good coffee culture. Hey, I'm a bit of a coffee snob. Flat white, cortado. What do you do? Cappuccino.
Flat white with cappuccino. Flat white, I prefer. My favorite.
All right. Listen, what did you have this morning? Because I maybe I have a coffee lesson for you.
I've probably had about 6 coffees today.
All flat white.
Actually, that's right. All flat white.
No good. Metalated. I just want to tell you a little story.
Okay.
Cappuccino, breakfast coffee. So this lady in Colombia got really upset with me when I ordered a cappuccino with supper, and she's like really passionate about coffee. Flat white, afternoon coffee if you got to go, and then lunch coffee, espresso. Cappuccino, breakfast coffee. Little coffee tip.
Lesson learned. Thanks so much. Thank you.
I hear you saying that now, but I'm not going to get to watch this unless you send me like, or
I'll
when you get a
photo tomorrow.
No, absolutely. Hey,
I'll take a photo and I'll tag you. I promise you.
I know you're saying that now. I expect that. I expect that because I've taken the time to teach a valuable lesson. And by the way, number one, also, I want to clip this and say I taught a lesson to the best squash player in South Africa. That's what this is really about. It's about my insecurity. All right. Man, that functional training. Love a good coffee. Love a good coffee. So, I kind of introed a little bit what you do for a living and what gets you. I mean, geez, the beast that you are, of course, on the squash court. But I'd probably like to go back a little bit to the beginning before squash, because I'd imagine you were a person before you just started dominating the scene. squash isn't really like mainstream, right? Or maybe I'm wrong, because I also, I don't know everything, but usually in South Africa, I kind of see for girls, it's regular tennis, hockey, athletics, and maybe, I don't know, just those sports. So how did you pick up on squash? Was it an early thing, or did it come on later in life?
Yeah, it was an early thing. My family's played and my parents have played, so they would go to the squash club at Western Cricket Club when it was still at the old courts at the Newlands Cricket Ground. And I used to go there, duck under the little door, hit a few balls in between their games, and I kind of just like picked it up. I'm like someone who can't sit still for long and love like the fast-paced kind of like sports. Yeah, and I just picked it up, and then from there I got enrolled in like the Western Province trials and stuff from a young age. So I started playing Western Province from 9, when I was 9 years old. And then I basically, it was all just like a club. It was like basically playing with yourself or other people or your parents at the club. It wasn't really offered at my junior school at all.
Oh wow! So from 9 years old, you've just been creaming people, huh?
No. I mean, it takes time, but it was definitely a sport that I fell in love with, and it was really cool. And also, you can play if it's raining, sunny, stormy. It doesn't really matter. You can play anytime.
Well, I kind of feel like you were being a bit humble there. If you were in the Western Province team at 9 years old, you had to there were probably a bunch of kids that were going home crying with their mom because of you. Kind of happened, huh? I mean,
I think the racket was bigger than me, but yeah.
Hey, something I've always wanted to know, when you play squash and people warm the ball up under the foot, is that like just idiots like me that are doing that? Or are you supposed to do that?
No, you normally just whack it against the wall a few times to warm it up. I've never really done the warming the ball under my foot. I don't really think it works that well, but.
Well, you see, I taught you about coffee.
Rather hit the ball against the wall.
See, exactly. I taught you about coffee, and now
this is trick actually. Put the ball underneath your armpit.
Oh no!
Keep it there and keep it warm. I promise you, it's the best place to keep warm.
Oh no, not my armpit. I mean, maybe like you. I mean, you look like you clearly somebody who looks after themselves, not me. But I hear you. I get the concept. If I find somebody with
the warmest place.
Oh really? Armpit, huh?
Yeah, just obviously over your clothes, but just keep it there. It stays nice and warm. Squash tip.
Pros tip. I'm gonna have to find another. Don't drink milk if you're lactose intolerant, because I feel like you gave me 2 tips, and I've only given you 1, and I'm quite a competitive person, so now it's equal.
That's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, it's still a tip. Like you hadn't thought about it till this moment. I had to get something in. Yeah.
Okay, got you. Thanks. I'm gonna think about my next one. I'm also very competitive, so I didn't want to start this.
Hey, listen, we got some time. We'll see how it goes. 2-2 in the set. So 9 years old. I didn't even realize that you were just sending poor kids crying. So were you like one of those that was so good that you were like you beating little boys as well? Because I know a lot of girls that used to like cream me at sport where they developed early. That was just like their thing. Beating boys was awesome. Were you like so good you were playing against boys?
Like we used to like play like king on the court, and like we used to have like. We used to have like boys and girls in the court, and it was always like very competitive. I just used to run for everything. Like I didn't want to lose a rally. I just used to run and get the ball back as much as I could.
Yeah.
But boys hate losing to girls. Oh my word.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah. It's even more satisfying when you beat them, because it's like, okay, put you in your place now. Come back next time.
That's my favorite thing in the world in hindsight is, so I've got a sister who's like way smarter than me, right? And so, the ego is forever. She's 4 years younger than me, but just like twice the IQ. I mean, it's not which isn't saying much considering what my IQ is. But anyway, it's still to this day. I mean, she's just, it's sickening. So I love it. You're just out there creaming little boys. They probably saw you, and like I would imagine, tiny little blonde girl coming in, and whammy, you've lost, whammy. So from 9 years old, Western Province, and would you say that was something that you were born that way? Do you think, to be prone and sort of be that hardcore competitive? Or do you think it's because your parents pushed you sort of in a direction and you kind of, through osmosis, watching them compete, being around that high level at a young age, do you think that made you more competitive, or do you think it's internal?
I think it's internal. I don't think I was around like a high level at that squash club. But yeah, no offense, whatever. But,
well, you just said it. You just said your parents are terrible at squash on Africa's leading digital platform. Just saying. No, that's just between us. No one's going to hear it. No one listens to Gareth Cliff anyway.
I think like if you're sporty and you obviously like super competitive, it definitely is that comes from within. I tried every single sport I could under the book, like anything that there was to offer, from squash to diving to ballet to gymnastics to swimming, like you name it, like every style of sport I tried. And obviously I was quite bad at the others. So I decided to stick it out with squash and kind of grow with it.
And so, I mean, it's an interesting one, because sometimes when young people, right, is when you started a sport when you're young, because I imagine it was just fun for you. Like you say, you've had all that energy. It was good fun. Sometimes when young people get into a sport and it almost becomes too serious, because I imagine if you're playing Western Province, that's quite serious, right? Even as a 9-year-old, you realize like this is serious. And it's incredible that you've carried on this long. And has that enjoyment factor waned, do you think? Or have you managed to keep the enjoyment factor? Because I know wonder kids often struggle in the teens. Life goes elsewhere and into 20s. You're quite an anomaly in that sense.
Yeah, so I had, when I was younger, I had quite a bad temper on the court. And I think it was because I was just so competitive. So I hated losing. And I couldn't like deal with trying to figure out, like when you're losing, how to work it. I just like how to be a better loser in a way, actually. So I had a really bad temper, and that took a lot of effort and time to try and like come around and like figure out ways and triggers to be better at it. And then just like the nature of sport, like as you get older and get better at things and you start taking things more seriously, sport, it goes in peaks and troughs. So when you're at a peak, you're absolutely loving it. The enjoyment factor is at 100%. And when you're in a trough, you want to quit and you hate it. But that's just the nature of the game. It definitely still goes in waves, but for the most part of it, like I can't go many days without playing. So, I mean, that probably says enough in itself. But I mean, obviously competing always, it's tough. But you got to find the enjoyment in it. Find ways to make it fun, like be with your friends or find enjoyment in the challenges or whatever. So as I've been getting older and maturing, I've been finding these ways.
I find that very interesting because I had an incredibly bad temper. I mean, now I just keep it under wraps because I'm just too old for it to ever come up. But that is a really interesting subject for me because I had an incredibly bad temper. I mean, I played nowhere near at your level in anything I've ever done in my life, but I like to win. And until I was 22, 23, while I was still enjoying some level of sport, my temper was out of control. And it actually was, I remember my temper was so bad, I went out actually on a night. And it's how I did my ACL because I went out on a bit of a booze binge after not playing. And I did my ACL the next morning at training because I went out the night before and I came straight from the club to practice. Allegedly. That's alleged. That's alleged. Okay. But listen, that's what everyone that was there that saw me says, but I still deny it to this day.
And you can't remember.
No. Allegedly. I'm not gonna. I don't admit to anything. It was everyone else's fault. You know what you like when you won. But that sort of anger and rage, I think it drove me to my best. And I know it's unpleasant for people to hear, but sometimes in young people, that temper, what we call a temper, is just, if you're not on the line of crazy, somewhere on the line of crazy, you've got to be almost looking over the edge without falling over. And that's a precipice, right? Do you think, because I don't think I would have reached the little level I reached without it, but do you think that can sometimes be misunderstood? And as a young person, did you ever feel alone when you were like, why can't these people understand that I just want to win? Because that's what I always used to feel like. People used to say, calm down when we lost. I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, for me, if we lost, it was a catastrophe. But people around me couldn't get it, and they said I had a bad temper, which I may or may not have. But I feel like that drove me to the next level. For you, did you ever feel like that, or do you think you were a little bit out of control?
Yeah, I think maybe out of control in some ways or not, But I think the main thing was that, like, when I watched myself back on either video footage or maybe I saw someone else behaving like that, I then could see it from the outside and I was like, actually, this looks terrible. But you don't realize when you're in the moment that you actually look like an absolute idiot. So you think you're like actually being cool by hitting a serve return into the floor for 6 points in a row and going 6 love down, but you actually look like an absolute idiot. You know what I mean? So until you see yourself back, you don't actually realize what you look like. And when I watched myself back, I was like, okay, actually, this looks terrible. Like, who's going to ever want to watch me? My parents are shouting me from the balcony saying, get off the court because you're behaving like this. And I was thinking that they're being crazy for telling me this. But actually, in hindsight, it was like the best thing. You just can't behave like that. It's not acceptable, in my opinion.
This is why you made it to the top, and I am just an Instagram guy. But I think you're dead right. I think honestly, I think when you put it like that, that's very true. And I mean, let's get into, and we can always come back to the developmental stage, but let's get into, harnessing that sort of energy, because often that anger and that drive, I think it was probably somewhere between going crazy and that drive. Do you think, tell us about, I believe he's still your coach now. Tell us about your mentor and coach. When you met him, do you think he harnessed that energy and sort of took you to the next level when you'd come out of, because obviously you wouldn't be at the level you're at. I mean, I'd like to think people know at home that you're the best in South Africa. You won nationals, like that's a given. But when you wanted to take it to the next level, take us through meeting your current coach and what he means to you, because I read what Atkinson means to you.
So we've been working together now for 9 years. So I was working with someone else during my teen years, and I actually feel sorry for him now. He's coaching in the States, and that was when I was like super grumpy and emotional and hormonal and whatever, So he had to deal with me through all that. But in 2011, my coach and I, currently Paul Atkinson, we started working together, and it was just, I think, like, during your career, it's just about taking that next step and finding someone who then speaks your language to be able to take you further, So I'd moved on from where I was. I was lucky enough that Paul moved down from Johannesburg to Cape Town so we could work together. And we clicked immediately. Like, he was so enthusiastic. He would come to every training session with a million new drills and ideas. And he's been amazing throughout my career as a friend and as a mentor, and as a coach and everything, literally. Like, their whole family is super special to me. But he's definitely mentored me through everything. I mean, when I'm overseas on my own in New York at 3 a.m, I'm messaging him saying, I hate my life, it sucks, whatever. And then the next match I win, or next tournament I win a match, and I'm like, I love squash again. It's the best thing, But that's the nature of the game. Like, you speak from your heart. As you walk off court, you're getting on the phone and chatting to these people because you have no one else there, So he's seen me in my worst and my best. He knows me inside out, which is really cool.
Wow, that is awesome. So when you made that jump, that's always interesting to me, because we see you now, and obviously the accolades are what they are, but there was surely, or maybe there wasn't, maybe it was just natural talent. Was there a phase, as you say, around that 2011 mark, when you decided, okay, maybe you made a deliberate decision, is, okay, I'm a participant now, but now it's about being the dog, the alpha. Did you have to make a mental switch and go, all right, I have to cut this, and this out, and I have to seek out Paul Atkinson, and I'd imagine you put other things in place? Or was it just did the pieces fall around you, or did you go chasing that sort of professional structure in your life?
Yeah, I was definitely chasing the structure, and Paul was just providing me with all the resources, basically. Like, So when I first started playing on a tour, I was actually a semi-pro. So in my mind, I was still studying at UCT. I was doing my degree there. I was playing for the varsity. I was on a squash scholarship. So I had like duties and roles to fulfill there. So in my mind, I was a semi-pro, which it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm kind of professional, but I'm still a student. So I was kind of living like both lives. So I wasn't fully committed to either one. And then it was during that time where we went on programs, or Paul would give me like a 10-week program. It was actually over like December, January, or January, I think. He's like 10 weeks, no drinking. And I was like 22 or something. And I was like, what? I'm like, that's nuts. Anyway, I did it, rocked it to all these things. And I was like, have a drink. I'm like, no, I can't. They're like, why? I'm like, I'm on a 10-week program. This is like my pre-season. It's like very important for like a building base for the rest of the season, you know? So Paul actually put all these structures in place, and then during that time, then it was literally about finding a fitness trainer, and then making sure that our sessions on court were all different, and then it was getting in sprint sessions, getting in runs, getting in ghosting. So we had a lot of structure, and then after I'd finished studying, I then decided I'm gonna give this thing a bash properly and go full pro. And then that was kind of where like the mental shift kind of went, because I was like, well, this is my job now. I'm not a student anymore. I've finished that. And it was either like you go full tilt and give it a full on go, or you're kind of wasting your time because you can't do it half-heartedly, you know?
Yeah. Hey, you went to, I hear you there. You went to Rustenburg Girls, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Deborah Patter also went there.
Yes. Yeah.
Who do you think's a bigger deal? You or her?
Well, she was on like, was it on Top Billing? Was it Top Billing?
Yeah, no, I think she had her own. What was the show? She was Third Degree, but nice one.
Oh, Third Degree. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should know that.
But yeah, I mean, what you were supposed to say is, I'm a bigger deal. I'm on this show, so I set you up there, and now.
Okay.
Oh my
I'm
God.
a bigger deal. I'm on Cliff Central.
No, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, Dave, let's cut her off. All right, this has been fun. Thank you. Yeah, no.
You just want me to throw your name out there. Hey?
It's unbelievable. It's because this is all content. It's like, hey guys, I was with Alex Fuller. She said she's a big deal because she was on my show, and then I clip that, and then people are like, oh, who's that guy who means nothing to anybody? Exactly. No one cares about who he is. But let's find out. But now I'm not a big deal because I had to kind of spoon feed you, and it's unbelievable. Thank goodness. Now I understand why you need Paul Aitken. All makes sense.
Yeah.
No, but the reason I bring up Rustenburg is that when we're so fortunate in this country. I think, I'm sure as you travel, you maybe agree or disagree, but I think we're very fortunate, having seen around the world how schools and sort of sporting structures are around the world, is that when you come from an institution like Rustenburg, I can only imagine the ferocity of competition in such a hallowed environment. Do you think that kind of helped you as well to develop a winner's mentality early? Because I can't imagine being around, I don't know what, 1,000, 1,500 girls for 6 years or 5, 6 years is very, very easy. Did that mold the champion?
So during my time at Rustenburg, I played squash and hockey. So those are my two main sports. And obviously, so squash was actually offered at Rustenburg, but it was very small. And we literally had like maybe 8 girls that were playing. So we'd play our Friday league matches. But I was, they're mostly playing like for like the other guys' tournaments, and they had like other like little leagues going on, and I would play at my club. So I had quite a diverse group of people that I was comparing myself with, like not just my school. But from the hockey side, it was very competitive. We had quite a good year at school. And that was kind of like, I mean, hockey is different to squash, right? Because you have a team around you. You're constantly surrounded by 15 girls. You can back each other up, scream and shout them on the field, and then you walk off and you guys are best buddies. Whereas squash, it's like you're on your own. It's you against your opponent kind of thing. So, I definitely think the hockey side and and like the team sport and the team environment helped a lot. But yeah, I guess it was more the club side of things that like molded me to want to be better and yeah, trying to achieve more than school.
Yeah. And at this stage, I mean, once you've got Paul on your side as your coach, is the family kind of pushing you as well? It sounds like your parents are sporty people because, you know, I think everybody sees, once again, end result, you're on the court, just go and deliver. But often there's more than 2-3 people. And sometimes it's family. Sometimes it is the coach who sets up a sports psychologist. For you, what's your family? Has your family been important sort of in keeping your spirits up? As you say, the peaks and troughs aren't for everybody.
Yeah, no, definitely. So they've been there like through thick and thin. They've always encouraged, but they've never like pushed. They've never forced me. They've never told me that if I don't, then I have to do this, or give me like an ultimatum. They've just supported whatever like route or like thing I choose, which has been really cool. But yeah, one thing is that I've always planned like my own sessions and my schedule and my day from even like when I was at school. I would have school and then it was school practices, hockey wise, and then I was planning to play people at my club. So it was like non-stop, and yeah, they would just fetch and carry me everywhere and feed me, and yeah, they looked to be like my biggest supporters, so that's really cool.
feed me. That's
feed me.
But that's an important thing. Important thing, right? Is so I work on the show, and we obviously, being in the space you're in, you get a lot of people, and you know, the internet can be the best and the worst place in the world. And every time I keep telling people that keep saying, "Oh, I want to diet and blah blah blah," and I go, "No," or they want to lose weight. I say, "No, athletes don't starve themselves. Athletes fuel themselves." And I think, you know, for somebody like yourself, it'd be cool to hear what is your approach to that game, because you know, this actually just came to me as you said, feed me, because hey, I love food. Well, that is one reason why I like to do fun runs on weekends. I do little 5Ks on the weekend just so I can eat and pig out, right? We understand it's probably hard on ladies. For you, that fueling game, I mean, I'd like to hear from a top champion like yourself. How much are you training, and how are you replacing those calories, and your relationship with food? I mean, I think you probably see it as fuel rather than you, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like as I've been getting a bit older and playing the sport for a lot longer, you just like begin to understand how your body works and what your body needs, because mine's different to yours and different to someone else's.
It's true. You're actually fit.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's different.
So like at school, obviously there's like a lot more pressure about like what you bring in your lunchbox and like that kind of thing, you know. And now I've learned that like, literally food is fuel, and you mustn't be embarrassed about what you eat and how you eat. But it's just about feeding yourself with the most like nutritious things you can. Like at every meal, I try and have something that's got greenery and that's got like protein and that kind of thing. And I'm not scared of carbs. I love carbs. But actually, so I don't eat meat. And there's this another girl at the gym whose diet is mostly plant-based, mostly. So every now and then you might have like something else. But loves sushi. So we came up with a name. It's called Vegushi.
Clever what you've done
like
there.
A vegan person, kind of vegan, but just can't give up sushi. It's called Vegushi. So we made it up.
Huh? Okay.
That's pretty fancy, yeah.
yeah. Pescatarian's boring. Vegushi. We're going to see this week in clip. Now, this makes me cool. No one's ever heard Vegushi. I was next to the number one squash player in the country. Now we're warming up here. This is what I'm here for.
Vegan who can't give up sushi. So
Vegushi.
Good.
That is so Cape Town, by the way. Listen, are you still Cape Town? Like, you got to direct people like, hey, can you see the mountain from where you are? Like, all Cape Townians need that as a direction point. Or how do you do that?
I don't even know. I have no bearings. I'm terrible.
All right.
I would walk out of a shop and walk back the same way I've just walked in.
Thank goodness you make your living in a 10 by 10 square.
Exactly. 11
by 9. I didn't say I was a mathematician. I'm just handsome. Okay, 11 by 9.
Okay, we're even. We're even.
That's 3-2. Oh, 3-0, huh? Yeah, all right. Hey, listen. 3-0, all right. not the end. The little tiebreaker. Yeah, keep that in mind.
Okay.
Fort Knox up there. And so
Yeah.
now, look, we're in the apex of your career, and we'll sort of come to as we finish off the type of support you had. But I'm always interested in, right now you get to the top. I mean, 2016, probably your best year, right? That's when you won, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the year. And then you kind of have the difficulty of the injury. Talk us through 2016, and was that your most successful year, if I read correctly?
No, I think it was 2018.
Was it 18?
Yeah, 2018. Was living in England for 6 months of the year. And I just had like a really good run of PSA tournaments, and I won like 5 tournaments back to back.
No big deal.
Which got my ranking up nicely just before the tournament structure changed. So how it works is that if you're in the top 32 of a 64 draw, you obviously then seeded, and then you get to play someone who's below you. Whereas if you're not seeded, you're always going to have to play a seeded player, right? So you always want to try and get into that top 32 of a draw. So yeah, I managed to get my ranking up nicely so that I was getting into these bigger tournaments, and then slowly creeping my way up to get into the top 32 of these bigger tournaments. So that was more like my breakthrough year in terms of my PSA ranking. It jumped quite a bit. And then now it's just about making like the small margins. But yeah, I forgot the other part of your question.
Listen, probably a rubbish question anyway. I'm not a very good interviewer. I'm not a very good interviewer. No, you did right. I'm not a very good interviewer. I'm really not. But I think what interests me is that you've managed to stay at the top for a little bit. So let's talk about, you said this morning you were personal training, and you would think I believe you're 36th in the world right now. That is an insane. You're the 36th best in the world at what you do. Is that correct?
Yeah, but not everyone in the world plays squash, but still.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's at least, even if there's only 3 million people that play squash, or women that play squash, that is insane. That is awesome. And there's definitely more than 3 million people that play. I mean, that is just sick. Do you ever just wake up and go, you are a champion? You look in the mirror. Do you give yourself the double you over there? You know that one? The two guns.
I'm so hard on myself. I'm like, you can do better. Yeah.
Fair. This is, once again, the difference between me and you. So I mean, you're still personal training, and it makes no sense to me that you're elite. That's very clear. The numbers are there for themselves. Is there a lack of support in South Africa for the game? What is happening there? How are you not being looked after by somebody?
So all the people behind the scenes at Squash South Africa, they're working really hard. They're putting in all the time and effort to do their best, to try and support us and try and support the development. But it's just a lack of resources that they're unable to support us in their full capacity, which is sad. But yeah, it's not for a lack of them not trying. And maybe it's like squash from as a whole from the country that we need to do something different to try and promote the game a bit better. I mean, we've all seen on Super Sports, the matches have been played like flat out. So it's awesome to see squash is growing and that kind of thing. And obviously with the Growthborn SA Nationals coming up now in next week is our regionals. That's been like one good thing that's come out of lockdown, is that we've actually started the South African season off on a high with equal prize money between men and women, the biggest nationals that we've had, the biggest number of entries that we've had because of the change of format. We've done like basically regionals in each province, and then the person who wins each region goes to the final leg in Pretoria, and there's going to be a glass court up in Brooklyn Mall, and we're going to play there. So that'll be super cool. I think it's a tricky one to answer, because as players you always feel like you've been hard done by, but it's just purely on a lack of resources, I'd say.
Fair enough. I mean, I guess you can't say it, and there are stakeholders that need to play their part, as with many other sports, and it really is a pity, because I see. So here's something I didn't know. My mother lived in Egypt for 6 years, right? So I did not know that these guys were this serious about the sport. What are they doing that we aren't? That country is, I'm sorry to say it. Like, you don't have to say it. I'm going to say it. Egypt's a dump as a country. I've said it. It's like, hey, disclaimer. Alex is not saying it. I'm saying it. It's the most horrendous country in the world to live in. And it is hot. It is a desert. But they just keep, especially the ladies. I was looking at the rankings. I mean, they got, what's her name? Novran. The Terminator. Noran. She is in. So what are they doing that we aren't?
So firstly, in their junior tournaments, they're dealing with 1,000 entries per tournament, whereas here we're dealing with 16 to 24 maybe. So the interest is so high. And I was actually chatting to one of the girls from Egypt, Noel Tayeb. She's number 5 in the world now. And she was just saying, like, for them, they're constantly being pushed by each other. So imagine training with the world number 1, the world number 3, and the world number 8. Like, you're constantly being pushed. You're constantly being challenged. You're constantly being motivated. You want to beat them in this, and you want to do the drill better than them, or, you know, like, just like little like margins. Whereas like in our country here, where it's obviously smaller, my comparison is against guys most of the time who I train with, you know. So like, she was like, of course, if I'm training with the number 1 in the world, I'm going to want to be better. I'm going to want to give her a better run every single time. I'm going to want to be more accurate. I'm going to want to beat her eventually. And they're always being pushed. So they have all their role models literally in their country.
Makes a huge difference.
It's massive.
Yeah, we had that. We had a terrible human on here last night as a guest, a guy called Matt Troutman. I don't know if you know that horrendous human being. Yeah, one of the top Iron Men in the world.
Oh God!
No, absolute legend of a guy. I'm giving him a ribbing. And I said, you know, it really makes an incredible difference when, you know, and it's quite cool that you live here. Is you know, whether you like it or not, I'm sure there are young girls that may. I mean, you'll be everywhere. People play squash. People know you. Cape Town's a tight community. It's very different when you were winning and living in England, and now people pop down to the store. They see you. They're like, "Was that? There's no ways that was Alex Fuller."
Like, who's that? No, they're like, who's that? You definitely don't know who I am.
That's what you see. This is what you think, but there is a young girl, there's a young boy out there who knows exactly who you are. And when you live here, it's a game changer. When you can see and touch your heroes, to echo your point, I think that's an absolute game changer. And I hear you there. So, you know, it's all good and well that we're you know, there is a lack of resource, but you got to thank guys like Growth Point, I think, for saying, you know what we've been saying for a long time is, hey, complain. But Growth Point is saying, all right, here's a starting point. Let's get going from here. So let's talk a bit about nationals. Do you still have to qualify? Like, how come they don't just give you a gold belt and you're just you're like in the final? Like, you're just at the big dump.
the fast track.
That's it.
No, I mean, you obviously got to stick to the structure of the tournament, and how they've structured it is that your regionals is basically the first, well, for the ladies, it's the first 3 rounds of your tournament. So when you get to Pretoria, you're basically playing, I think it's quarters, semis, and finals. So basically you can't just get a fast track there, because you almost got to complete your first 3 rounds to get through to the next round of the draw, which is then in Pretoria. Do you understand?
I think
I'm a little bit confused.
Listen, I said I'm just handsome, not smart. I said I was handsome, not smart. Listen, it must be a nightmare when somebody sees, oh, like, who did I draw? Oh my God, I got Alex Fuller. That must just be like the worst night ever the night before. Alex,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say on that, so a few times I've drawn the number 1 in the world at tournaments, and I'm also like, oh my gosh, what an absolute nightmare. Like, what a draw. Like, I couldn't have got a worse draw. But actually, it's what an amazing experience to be on court with someone like that. Like, you just almost got to take it by flipping both hands and run with it, and just learn and feel the experience. And and it's been on like glass courts in the middle of Chicago State, like Central Station, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Wow. But actually, you've got to just take what you can out of the match and just enjoy it. So hopefully when people get me as a as a player in the draw, it's not like, oh, I'm playing her, I'm not just going to annihilate her, like flipping 11, love, 11, love, 11, love. It's about, yeah, it's about that person also learning as well.
Oh, Alex, nice humble brag there. That was a good humble brag. That was a good way to say I'm a big deal when they get me. It should be an honor.
No. You said that.
I should have a golden carpet all the way there. So a great way to say that.
I said I can't do fast track. I got to go with the structure.
Wow. I thought Alex was humble. Wow.
Putting words in my mouth. Yeah, you're putting words in my mouth.
So Alex, let's talk about, you know, most of us will never get to experience. We can compete in our community, in our province, in our country. But talk to me about the reality. I mean, you're talking to me about this top level when you were drawn against the number one in the world, because that's a different beast level, I'd imagine. How big is that jump actually from like provincial, and then now you're playing in those big tournaments globally, and you're playing against the New Zealanders and the Egyptians?
It's huge. We're kind of like a bit stuck in our bubble here in South Africa. Like over there, especially in like Europe and the UK, they're just exposed to so much more. All these European tournaments that happen on a regular basis. They're exposed to leagues. They're exposed to playing on the tour at a much younger age.
So are you having a disco at your house there? You didn't invite it. Oh, let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah, what's happening?
Things are happening, yeah.
I like it. Hey, let's leave it. It's a good effect. Well, hold on. I have to do the media thing. If you, a clear epilepsy warning, if you're watching this, the number one tennis or squash player in the country is currently having a disco at her house. It's all happening. It is all happening.
I want to join.
That's unbelievable.
The wild Wednesday night.
You were saying before the disco started.
What was I saying?
I'm not sure. Oh, bad memory.
I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a good time. You're just waiting for all your friends to. But what I was saying was that jump to the international.
Oh yes, yeah. So it's basically just exposure and just like learning how to play in that environment. You know, like our only exposure really is when we go and represent our country at either our world juniors or our world seniors, whichever you get picked for. And it's like being on the international stage there, whereas the people who live in Europe and the UK, they just get exposed to this international stage so much younger, you know. So they're also competing against girls from all over the world, basically. And whereas we just kind of always competing against our same nation. And that's nothing to do with Squash South Africa or anything. It's just purely because we are so far away from everything. And we just don't get enough exposure on that.
So, I mean, because there's all sorts of people who will get to see this. And maybe let's start with your plans. In your mind, how much longer are you seeing yourself at the top of the game? And what could somebody do to kind of put you in a place where all you're focusing on is just dominating the rest of the world and being number one, which is the goal?
Yeah. So I definitely think I've got, like, age-wise, I definitely got like a good 4, 5, 6 years, you know, of good squash and like good like physical ability. And then for me to be able to just focus on squash, there's a lot of other things that need to be taken care of in my life, and a lot of it involves like finances, location. I was living in Ireland last year and came back for lockdown, and now we've been like stuck here. So just making the most out of being back in South Africa and obviously in Cape Town. But ideally you want everything to be covered. You don't have to worry about booking the cheapest flight to get there the day before because it's cheaper than the day before that, and your preparation and your budget and that kind of thing. And then another thing that I've probably definitely neglected in my career is like treatment on my body in terms of physios and stuff, because it's all at my own expense and my own account. So I just think I could probably save this and use it towards a flight to get to a tournament rather than using it to make me feel better. And then another side would definitely be the mental side of things. And probably a lot to do with I haven't really clicked with someone, and then also a lot to do with the finances behind it. So yeah, there's a lot for me to think of and a lot for me to do behind the scenes. It's not like the bigger sports, cricket and rugby and whatever, where you have an agent doing everything for you. Like, I do it all myself.
Which is incredible because, I hate to go on about this number, but you're in the top 50 in the world. This is the elite of the elite of the elite. So it's, I hope somebody hears this, and who knows, we'll have to put some feelers out there, because I think we got to give it a proper go, because Paris 2024, I'd imagine, is something you wouldn't mind popping up at and bringing back some gold.
Yeah, unfortunately, squash isn't even in the Olympics anymore.
It's unbelievable. I actually like
crazy.
What's the story with that? We've got skateboarding.
I know, and rollerblading.
And surfing. What are we doing? So,
honestly,
inline rollerblade. What is it? 1850.
Exactly. Is it breakdancing back in now?
I mean, I don't know what we're doing. The Olympic. I got to be honest with you. I know a lot of people don't like to hear this. The Olympics are becoming a bit of a joke. When they put skateboarding in, I was like, I mean, what, Tony Hawk is going to go? What are we talking about? Anyway, it's unbelievable. So what's the goal? Well, I mean, what is the top of the prism for you? SA champs. Let's talk about nationals. I mean, obviously you want to show strong. You're at home. You're in front of everyone. You still need to. I would imagine a competitive person still wants to show that, hey, I haven't gone anywhere just because I was living in Ireland. Don't you forget about me. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Last year I was actually I was unable to come back to play nationals. So this year I'm really gunning for that title. It's always the best feeling to be a national champ, right?
I wouldn't know.
No pressure. It's going to be my first match since March. April, actually. No, March. So I'm sure with all the nervous feelings going to be there again. It's going to be another thing of like preparing for a match and how to go about your normal routine. It might feel a little bit foreign at times, but I'm actually really excited to get back and competing.
Oh, now you got me excited. All right, let's do it. I'm going to do my bracket here. Who is, so obviously you're number one. That's a given. So I've written your name. Excuse me here. I need to just put this pen right. Okay, so you're number one. Who's number two in the country? So I know who to support. Maybe you've upset me too much today by not, because I gave you a setup to be bigger than Deborah Patter. Maybe I'm going to support somebody. So let's do it.
You can win our little challenge just to support me. I don't think you need to know about anyone else. I think it's a no-brainer to support me, right?
Well, I mean, earlier I was saying you're a bigger deal.
I feel offended.
You didn't call my show a bigger deal than Deborah Patter's show earlier. I feel like I should maybe have a selection of other people. But
I
honestly,
just didn't read between the lines.
I can't believe it. Hey, Paul, if Paul's watching this, Paul, we got a lot of work to do. I know, the blonde. I didn't want to say it. It's a different time. Hashtag be sensitive. People are going to Montessori now, and it's a different time. But listen, without worrying about who the ladies to look for. I mean, obviously you're a draw, but who are your competitors? Who are the ladies we're looking for at nationals that everybody should know about, and we should back the sport. It's a great sport. It's a great way to be socialized. Number one, not all of us can be the best in the world. I've played squash once or twice. I'm terrible, but it's a great sport. Who are the ladies we should look out for? You're given.
So there's another girl. Thanks. There's another girl called Milne Lowe. She actually lives in Cape Town, but she plays our interprovincial for Pretoria. So she's gone up to play in the Joburg regionals because they try to split like the top players. Then there's another girl called Sioli Waters. And then we've got all like our good like provincial players, like Lizelle Muller now, sorry. And then you have like Corin Schultz and Sasha West and there's
Sasha West. I like directions. That's who I support. Because you didn't call my show big time. Sasha West, if Sasha's watching.
Oh, I feel like she's a winner of something.
Let's go, Sasha. The Cliff Central Sports support because the champ, Miss Fuller, didn't say our show was a bigger deal than Deborah Patter's. Hey, but on a very serious note, you are a big deal, man. And honestly, it is such an honor to have somebody like you take your time, because I understand that you could be doing so much to obviously recover, and you've had a long day, but you took your time to come and be with us. Before I let you go, whenever I watch, damn it, I can't believe I missed this earlier. By the way, I heard it gets quite loud at squash. It can be quite a racket.
Good one.
I had to get it in.
I feel like someone wrote that on a placard and quickly put it up, and you're like, oh, flip, yeah, I forgot about that.
It's all about a team. You can't win on your own, as you know. But on a serious note, you were talking about having the recovery that hard court is, my God, that impact on your body. What is the pain? When you play like a proper match, how long does it take your body to actually recover after a proper top level game?
So a proper professional game. So the tin, the bottom of the court is lowered by 2 inches. So your normal squash court at a club will be 19 inches, and on the professional tour, it's 17. So your drop shots, your shots are always much lower. So you're constantly a deeper lunge, or you're having to get much lower on those kind of courts. So when I play my professional matches, I can definitely feel the next day I'm flip, I'm stiff, my bum's stiff, because you're so used to playing on a 19-inch tin, or practicing, because some of our courts you can't adjust the tins at all. So yeah, then it's all about a lot of those bigger tournaments. They've got free massaging, or you can book a session with a physio. You just try and get a good rub down in, or your foam roll. Ideally, we'd probably have an ice bath, but it's cold. So yeah, I mean, at the bigger tournaments, all the structure is kind of there for you. Have a good stretch afterwards, put your legs up, stretch while you're warm. Yeah, that kind of thing.
And what I was thinking about squash is it's quite a technical sport. It's like tennis or any of these sports where anywhere where the ball has to travel from you, so you're not always in control, and it has to go certain distances. It's a technical sport. Mm-hmm. Much like golf, can you get the yips in squash? I've always wondered, because you've seen golfers, like the best of the best, they get what they call in golf the yips. I don't know if there's a squash version of that. I've always wondered about such a technical sport.
100%. I've had times where I feel like I have a rubber arm. It's just not working. It's not functioning, and you just actually freak out. And this could be in your morning practice time or something.
Oh, wow.
And then you're like, okay, I'm actually screwed here. But then, because your focus is so much on your swing and actually just doing the right thing, you're so focused on everything, you actually probably play your best squash. Whereas sometimes in a warm up or your morning practice, the ball's going all over the show, and you're just hitting nicks, and your shots are working, and you feel like you've got a magic wand in your hand. And then you get on the court and you're slightly cocky about it. You kind of just take it for granted almost. That's sometimes when I've been like, oh my gosh, I just had the best morning hits. I feel like I could hit a nick from anywhere, and now all of a sudden I can't hit a straight drop. So yeah, you definitely get the yipses. Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, geez, man, that's wild. So, I mean, the racket's so small and the ball is absolutely flying. So, look, man, you are absolutely, you really, I want to say this from the bottom of my heart, because I love South Africans that put us on the map. Before I give you a chance to kind of let us know what your plans are, and maybe we'll take 1 or 2 questions if you've got time.
Yeah, sure.
I'm extremely proud to have somebody like you, number one, represent us as a South African, because I think, I say it to all South Africans that choose to, and I mean, you're obviously, you've become, sort of, obviously your sport needs location and you're in Europe, but for you to be flying our flag and still flying the South African flag, and that makes me extremely proud, because it might sound cheesy, but I really mean this from the bottom of my heart. When a South African wins over there, every time I travel, they go, oh, no, we've seen that flag. We know that accent. It won. Yeah. So as you keep flying the flag, and I'm more of a process person. Of course, champions like you want to win. But, when we watch people in the process, in the grind, right, to working, that gift we get from, there is that osmosis from watching you grind. We see that you're real, because at a stage, 2010, 15, we've gotten to watch. That doesn't just happen. Yeah. I'm sorry. You can be lucky for 1 year, not 10. So it's an absolute honor and a privilege to have you represent us. And for those who don't get the chance, I just want to thank you on their behalf.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm forever proud to be representing out there. And I just want to keep going. We need more South Africans on the world tour, and I want it to be an attractive sport and an attractive job for a lot of other women and men, actually. It's an awesome sport to play, and I hope that a lot more people are thriving and striving to want to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it today. South Africa's top coach, a guy called Pitso Mosimane, just got taken to Al Ahly, which is in Egypt. So I want you to go and destroy the Egyptians, because they seem to be taking everything from us in
I know,
Africa.
and you take them down.
Yeah. Take them. They got the pyramids. We want squash. So big up to you. Let's take one or two questions before I let you go, if that's all right.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Dave, what we got for the champ? By the way, I support Sasha West.
No, that's not allowed.
Oh, okay. Maybe our relationship will develop and it'll be better, and I'll change my mind. I wrote her name down here. You'll see I underlined it. Sasha West.
If she's listening to this, I swear.
Yeah. Well, Sasha, if you come on the show and you call my show a bigger deal than Deborah Patter's, I'm very impressionable. I just want to tell you, I'm honestly, my favorite chocolate, 5-star. You gave me a 5-star, this is all over. I'm back on your side. Just tell you.
Your favorite chocolate.
Oh, love it. Can't get enough of it. But anyway, enough of me. Dave, let's start that question again, please. If you'll flip it one back. All right. Mark Josie says, please ask Alex to share her views on the development of attracting young South Africans to the sport of squash at grassroots level. Is enough being done both public and private schools to grow the sport?
So no, unfortunately, I think I wish squash was offered in every single sport. There's enough clubs around the area for them to rent the courts or just pay for lights or whatever. I don't think that there's been enough publicity about it, enough push from the schools or even us players. It's almost like we don't want it to be a dying sport in our country. We want it to be growing and thriving. And at the moment, it's not big in the schools. It's not. We're lacking a lot of young talent at the moment, and that's purely because of the exposure of the sport. Like at all the schools, it's going to be rugby and cricket or hockey and netball and tennis, and squash is just actually the best sport to play. And I wish all the schools could just offer it. That's the bottom line. Offer it as a sport and get leagues. And we're at my level at school, we had leagues non-stop all the time, boys leagues, bishops leagues, the stayers league. We just had so much going on, and we had, it was just squashed like all the time, and it's just slowly been getting less and less and dying, which is so sad. So,
why do you think that is?
Get all the schools to introduce it.
Why do you think squash?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't think it's for lack of interest of the people. I think, you know what, to be honest, I know I'm in this generation, but the young people, they are so techno crazy that they would rather go and sit on their iPads or be on their phones with their mates than go and hit balls with boys on a squash court. Like, go and meet people and go and join a club and go and put yourself out there. Like, I don't know how many times when I was at a club and I would always have to ask people for a game. No one ever asked me for a game. I always asked them, and I always got on court with someone better than me. And it's just about getting more people to just do it, like not be shy and just put yourself out there. It's the only way you're going to grow. I hear your message. I just want to say, in their defense, is for the 4,000th time, if you're going to get hammered by some tiny blonde girl and you're some billionaire from Newlands, you might turn the game down. Just a thought. No. Been playing Western Province since you were 9. I would probably turn it down as well. I'm just saying. Yeah, I was always the underdog though.
Sure. Yeah, I've been playing Western Province since I was 9 years old. I'm sure. I'm sure you were. Tough, tough, tough. Hey, tough to be humble when you know you're the finest. I got you. But I do hear you. I do hear you. That is very, very. That is very, very worrying. Especially like you said, is squash is a sport you can play all the time,
Yeah,
anywhere.
it's basically like an all-year sport. Yeah.
But I'd like to just throw a question in there. Is that a lot of people hear the word discipline and they hear a prison. What is your relationship with that word? Because without that word, you don't have what you have, the success that you have. So could you maybe just talk me through one or two of the benefits of being disciplined that you wish a 15, 16-year-old you could have heard and you could have taken it to the level you're at now at 15? Maybe some youngsters don't see the benefits of discipline.
Yeah, 100%. So I think also what definitely aided me was obviously we didn't have Instagram and Facebook and stuff when I was in high school. It wasn't like a thing. So the distraction side of things was minimal. Our distraction was to go and play sport. We just wanted to go to the squash club or go to the hockey field or be with our friends or play and whatever, Yeah, so that side of the discipline now I think there's way more distractions and way more you're obviously always comparing yourself to other people on social media and stuff, and we didn't have that. So yeah, my schedule was always like jam packed. People used to say to me, how do you even finish your schoolwork? Like, how do you study? Like, how do you pass? And I was like, to be honest, I actually don't even know. Like, your time management becomes so good. You're so efficient in your day. You fit in your homework, you fit in studying, you fit in getting your extra activities in, you fit in your extra math lessons, whatever it is. And yeah, but the thing is with my personality, I love structure. So I would plan my week on a Sunday. On a Sunday, I plan my week. I message the people that I'm going to play squash with. I message people I'm training with, and I plan it. I plan everything. I know what time I'm training on a Friday, on a Sunday. And for me, and in my head, I can then visualize how my day is going to look, what time I have in between here or there to do whatever, whether it is to go to physio or relax or have a nap or meet this one for coffee or whatever that is, So yeah, I think that was, just manage your time, and being disciplined is not a scary thing. It's just about making the most out of your day and figuring out what you actually want out of it.
Hey, that is an awesome message. That is an awesome message, because listen, to a lot of young people will see this. That's what it takes to get to the top. And it's applicable. I believe what you've just said is applicable everywhere. Those are critical thinking skills, right? The day is limited. Listen to the champ. She plans a week on Sunday. If you're young out there and you're out there, right? She plans a week on Sunday for who she's playing on Friday, who she's having coffee with on Friday. There is no time to be wasted. To be great doesn't happen on purpose, folks. This is somebody who's been at the top of the game for 10 years. So that is an awesome message, man. I just wanted to echo that. That is absolutely. And, so I have a mentor who says, or has instilled in me, that discipline is freedom. She says to me all the time, don't listen to anybody. Discipline is freedom. So I absolutely love that message. Absolutely love that.
I agree with that 100%.
Dave, what we got for the champ? Ian Oosthuizen says, have you had any injuries, and how did you deal with it? Do you work with any sports scientists or coaches outside of the squash to work on your body?
So touch wood, luckily I've had no injuries. I've never had an injury where I can't do anything or play the sport or whatever. It's maybe been like a little niggle that I can play through, but nothing serious. And then, I was working with a personal trainer, Dan McKenzie, at Villages, but he then moved overseas last year. Then I proceeded to move overseas. And there was a guy there called Derek Ryan, and in his day, he was number 7 in the world, and he's a strength and conditioning and sports conditioning coach, plus the physios. And he wrote me an off-season program last year, and then guided me through a couple of my gym programs, and just like a few different sessions, like even though I'm a personal trainer myself, a trainer always needs a coach, right? So
sure.
It's nice to just be guided and know that you're doing the right thing for your sport.
How much training do you do? Do you count in hours? How do you structure? So let's say you big tournament coming up. You're playing top of the pops. You got to be in prime shape in 12 weeks. Talk to me about the 12 weeks before a big tournament. What kind of blocks do you do?
So do like maybe like a loading block for like 4 weeks, and then like a deload week. And then in between that, my squash would vary from just feeding sessions to drills to condition games into match play. And then like the maybe 3 or 4 weeks leading up to the tournament, you just try and get as many matches in as possible, where it's like a real squash that you can like compare yourself with. And then gym wise / fitness wise, it would be like a loading block, a deload week, and then adding in a bit more explosive stuff as you get closer to the tournament. And then like the week before the tournament, you obviously trying not to do anything new, just keep up the fast explosive, like fast twitch fibers, to make sure that you're feeling like you're ready to go.
Oh, you got quite personal training there. Oh, a lot of deload and download and upload and megabits. It got very technical there. But what is talk me through a load week quickly, like laymanize it. Anybody as stupid as me and dumber, talk to them like they're stupid as me and dumber than me. What is a loading week, a peak loading week? What does that actually involve? What does it look like? In the morning, you're doing what? In the afternoon, you're doing what?
So it'll be like the morning, you'll do gym work, which involves a lot of strength stuff, maybe things like deadlift, single leg deadlift, a lot of Bulgarian split squats, like the balance. Yeah.
The glutes, gotta get the glutes tight.
Exactly, the glutes are gonna be firing in squash. And then you'd probably mix it up with like some like fast like sprint sessions, maybe a couple endurance sessions, and probably mix up a lot of your training within the first like 4 weeks of the block. It looks like you want to ask a question.
No. I'm taking it all in.
You would probably add like a lot more weight within that block, and then like your deload week would be less weight but more reps, and then like your next block would probably be lighter weight but more explosive. So you might do like jump squats and burpee broad jumps and squat jumps with the weight and jump lunges and that kind of thing. And then you might go into like more like plyometrics, hurdles, ladders, a lot of band work, that kind of thing.
5 days, 6 days a week?
6 days a week. I'm quite bad at resting. So my rest day might be like a run or something, or active recovery.
This is what it takes to get to the top, huh? No days off. No, it's great. This is there is a price to pay for greatness, and not all of us are willing to do it. That's why there's so few of you at the top. It's awesome. I love hearing this kind of stuff. Dave, what we got for the champ? The rig says, teaching beginners, do you think it's more important to coach movement first or shot technique?
I'd say shot technique, maybe learning how to swing. What has definitely changed though, from like when I was learning how to swing to now, is that there's no correct or incorrect swing actually. There used to be like kind of not a formula, but like a pattern of how you should swing. And it definitely aids obviously in the accuracy and that, but as we've seen from all the Egyptians, all their swings are so different and they hit the ball so well and the ball goes exactly where they want it to go. So I actually remember listening to Steve Smith, the Australian cricketer.
The guy with the sandpaper in his pocket.
Yeah, the guy with the funny technique.
And he sandpaper and he cheated in Cape Town. I was there. And he cried. Sorry. Yes, yes, that one.
He's also one of the greatest sportsmen. But anyway, he was saying that he could never have a coach that changed him, that changed his swing and changed the way he played. He needed a coach to adapt to how he did things and just kind of build on that. And I think that's what's important, is that it's difficult to change the way someone plays 100%. You've got to kind of like look and see where they're at, their strengths and weaknesses, and just build on what their natural talent shows. And that's also what creates that uniqueness within the sport. Like if you compare Steve Smith to a Coley, let's just say, like they're so different. And it would be the same as comparing me to an Egyptian squash player, is that we've just all been taught differently, and it's just about kind of building on their own natural ability and making them better and feeling the most comfortable within that.
I just want to say, this has only cemented my support for Sasha West, because on our show, I did a very famous section where I compared Steve Smith and Virat Kohli and Kane Williamson. And I think Steve Smith is the greatest batsman of our time. So you clearly don't watch our show. Sasha West, if I can send you my support, send me a T-shirt and I'll wear it. That's a double strike. Third strike. Alex.
I'm going to have a word with Sasha. I'm going to have a word with her.
By the way, I'm coming to Pretoria to watch. I'm coming to Pretoria to watch. If Sasha's there.
Promise?
One more strike. Promise. I live in Joburg. I'm right here. I am coming. I will be there. Sasha Mania. We're already calling it Sasha Mania.
I'll know my schedule on the Sunday. I'll send it to you.
All right, send it to me. I'll get Sasha's one. I'll see when I can squeeze you.
I'm not sending you Sasha's one.
All right. Well, Sasha, if you're watching, we'll talk offline. But that's very true, and I love that message. And I do love Steve Smith. So I guess, and it's great. I think Paul is the guy for you, huh? He understands how to push your buttons and get you going.
Exactly. Like he speaks a language that I can understand, and that's what's also really important, that it's different having a coach, but sometimes you can walk in and out of sessions and you're like, I don't even know what the hell's just gone on there. Like you just feel like you're not progressing. Whereas with Paul, we've always made sure that the words that he says to me within our sessions is actually something that I understand and that clicks in my brain. So it could be something as simple as like pull the trigger, let's just say. And for me, that makes sense. But for someone else, it's not going to make sense. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. That's awesome. That's great that you found somebody. That's very, very rare.
Yeah.
What's next, Dave? Mark MCG says, Mark MCG says, where has the Northern Irish accent gone? Now,
I never had one.
Well, I was going to say, because if you're one of those South Africans that moved overseas for like 10 minutes and you got to...
I got an accent.
That's a tough one to get.
Yeah, honestly, even after living there for 10 months, I was still saying, sorry, please, can you just say that again? I get what you just said.
But where were you? Listen, the Northern Irish ones, were you in Belfast, or where were you in Northern Ireland?
Belfast, yeah.
Great city. But I'd rather have that one than like when you, the Republic of Irish accent is, I've got no clue what's going on there. No,
it's funny,
the Northern Irish one. Really? Do you think that one's worse than the Republic one?
It's so hard to understand. The Republic one's just funny because they say things are not things and tanks are not thanks and whatever. But the Northern Irish one is so difficult.
Oh, have you been to Cork?
No, not yet.
They're chewing sandpaper the whole time. They're chewing sandpaper the whole time. No, I got like. You say you're speaking English, get the hell out of my face. This is nuts.
Yeah.
This is but interesting. All right, so you're in Belfast, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, a great boxing city, by the way. Boxing's a great favorite sport of mine.
We actually did boxing there, but that was like part of my fitness. Yeah.
Did you meet Barry McGuinn? Shane McGuigan. Shane McGuigan's his son.
No.
And one of the greatest.
Box people, just a bag.
Oh. No, I thought maybe you met him. Shane McGuigan's a great trainer. Hey, if you're going to live in Northern Ireland, you got to know the heroes. It's not just Rory McIlroy, you know. Yeah. And right now they got the Jackal. He's not a very good boxer. He's struggled lately. But anyway, you clearly don't love Northern Ireland, and the accent's gone. Tough. This has been a tough night for you. This has been a tough night for you.
Sure.
This has been a
thick skin. Lucky I got thick skin.
I'm preparing you for. Listen, it's nationals in 2 weeks. I need you mentally ready. You had to have a tough night tonight.
There's just one person I've got to take down, is Sasha West, so that she doesn't get to go to Pretoria. So when you come to Pretoria, you have one other person to support. That's me and not Sasha West.
Sasha West. Sasha Mania. We're already calling it Sasha Mania. People are already tweeting it in, but I thought it would be insensitive to put it up here. We got 2 more questions. We've kept you forever. You've been so gracious with your time, and thank you for being, man, you really are awesome. Upside Up says, is the level of squash in SA currently good or at a good level? Is it possible to stay in SA and make a living, or is it necessary to move abroad? I think we did touch on it before, but perhaps you can answer that.
Yeah. Yeah, the level in South Africa, in my opinion, has definitely dropped. Unfortunately, we're lacking a bit of like young talent, maybe not young talent, but the numbers. So yeah, we did touch on that. And then as a South African squash player, living abroad, as I experienced last year, was definitely the best move. Just in terms of exposure, in terms of travel time, in terms of money, in terms of just more options there, in terms of league, and earning money in different aspects, not just playing, as in like playing tournaments. Yeah, I played and traveled from South Africa for 6 years or so, and it is just exhausting. It's
not
very
feasible.
tiring. It's not feasible. No, not at all. So I would say definitely living abroad.
And so you reckon the UK is probably the best place for you to live, language, culture, and the competitions in around there. It's pretty central as well, huh?
Yeah, central, exactly. Yeah, it's 5-hour flight to New York, whereas from here it's 16 hours, and you got to it's time difference, and it's just the schlep of it, and it's expensive. And at least I knew there I was making money actually. Whereas from here, just your flight, you basically lost money.
Whew. Tough. This is the reality, though. I guess you got to live in Northern Ireland and not understand a single word people are saying.
Yeah.
Last question for you here, Alex. Wasi Strand says, you spoke about role models or icons. Who was or is your role model locally and internationally?
So locally, so I loved hockey, and I would go and watch like every single. Oh, you damn it! Mess it up again.
Sasha West.
I feel like someone set me up.
Make Sasha West sign. Get Sasha on the show. She will appreciate me. Please go on. No, please go on. Who is your local hero? You were saying?
You my local and my international hero.
Stop. But let's go with your second hero. Who's your second hero?
My second hero locally, so I used to I loved hockey. I loved the sport. I would go and watch the SA girls all the time. And Kate Wood, she was the captain of the SA hockey team, and I idolized her. I thought she was just the best thing ever. And then internationally, this girl, she was former world number 1 from Australia, Sarah Fitzgerald. And I was lucky enough to go over to Australia to stay with her and train with her for a little bit. She'd be my international idol.
That's awesome. And have you met Katie Wood? Was it Katie Wood,
the South African? I actually know her. Yeah, I know her quite well. Which is
that's awesome.
And every single time I see her, and I'm like, oh.
Wow.
So it's really cool, and she's such a nice person.
Man, that is epic to hear, and you are epic, by the way. You are so cool. Thank you so much. Listen. So what are we looking at next 4 years? Realistically, are we going back to Ireland and we're going to give this thing a proper go?
I hope so. We're trying to figure out visas at the moment. It's just proving to be a bit tricky during this time. Trying to get a club within the UK to, basically take me in and be my sponsor and that kind of thing. We're in the process at the moment. Timeline, not too sure when or what. But I'm hoping to go play a couple international tournaments in November. There's a couple in Egypt. And then, just kind of tick over until we know exactly what's happening for sure. But yes, definitely keen to carry on and represent South Africa as best I can.
Come on, like Sarah Connor, get up there and take down the Terminator.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go. You're absolutely amazing, and I've said the words I have to say. Thank you. It is an honor to meet people like yourself who have. You know what's a rare trait is people that can give themselves to something, and you've given yourself to this great game, and that's such an admirable trait. I want to thank you so much on other people's behalf, but for joining us tonight. It's been absolutely awesome. Thank you. Hey, great sense of humor, by the way. Did not expect that from a squash player.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Sasha West has a great sense of humor. That's why we hang out all the time.
Oh, man. I'm having a word with her right now on the phone.
Alex,
I'm going to get up on the phone.
You are the best. Yeah, you really, This was an absolute honor for me. And you know, as I get to do this job and I get to speak to more and more champions, I'll forever more be able to say, hey, I spoke to Alex Fuller before she went on to be number one. So absolutely awesome. And to you and your family and everybody that supports you, I want to wish you nothing but peace and wellness as you represent us around the world. And we back you no matter whether we're there or here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. And it's been amazing chatting to you and getting to know you. And you are my idol.
Goes without saying. Absolutely. Cut that, Dave. Cut that. We're going to clip that, and we're just going to have that on rotation. Alex Fuller, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't wait to see you in Pretoria with a placard there, ready and waiting.
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. The greatest product out of Rustenburg girls, my second favorite player in South Africa after Sasha West, ladies and gentlemen. The number one, the queen of SA squash. It is Alex Fuller. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thanks so much.
You are awesome, man. Hey, folks at home, before we say goodbye to you, once again, Dave Leroux, honored to work with you. It is Dave's last show with us tonight. It has been incredible. He has built the show. I am eternally grateful as we carry on and we take the show to the next level. It has been an honor to work with you. But as we've just seen, folks, greatness has a price. We have just seen it. You can make two choices. You pay the price or you don't, right? That is a choice. And as you've just heard, working full time in the morning. She was working this morning. She's hitting the sessions in the afternoon. She comes and does the interview. Greatness costs something. Often it costs your soul. This is somebody who has handed their soul over. She's now, listen, she had the injury in 2018 and she's back up to number 36 in the world. This is no joke. If you're South African around the world, back this person. As you can see, somebody who's driven to be great. That's not for everyone. You could have been anywhere tonight with anybody. You chose to be with us. That is Gareth Cliff. I'm MKT. This is the MKT show, and we are out of here.